Hello, this is Jack Downs with a brief video about the Images 1 exercise. It's expected that you'll be doing this in class and complete it there, but maybe you weren't in class or you want to review it. This exercise is not graded on its own, but it does go towards your next quiz. And the basic idea is you're going to be using Photoshop. So the first time we've done that in this class, you have to open Photoshop. I'm going to be using the 21 version, I believe it is, which is pretty similar to the even newer versions. So it shouldn't change too much. The idea is we're simulating the real work you're going to do with your real photos. When your photos that you take of yourself or of different events or photos that you're going to use on your website are almost certainly way, way, way too large. Larger than is necessary for the website. And remember, we always want to optimize images. So how can we optimize the images? Well, I'm giving you two images, which are pretty good size, not truly enormous, but pretty good size, and you're to download them into a root folder called something like your name, images 1 and your name. And I asked you to make two subfolders there, thumbs and full. Now, and also I've asked you to make a project folder, an originals folder, and of course you're going to download the starting images into the originals folder, and then you're going to make copies of them and put them into thumbs or full. There's no HTML document in this exercise. It's just resizing images. Okay, and then of course you're going to zip the root folder, which has two subfolders, and we'll have two images in each one when you're done, and that's what you're going to upload. So you open it, and we're going to start with it says with gymnastics photos. One concept to keep in mind, you'll refer back to these numbers as we go, that the dimensions we're going to use for our horizontal images are the full size, the large size, is 500 by 375, that's pixels, and the thumb size, the small size, is 100 by 75. And then the dimensions for the verticals are 375 by 500 and 75 by 100. We're going to be concentrating on the width. There are times when the depth is going to be different, and we're going to accept a depth which is a little bit different. How can you tell if a photo is horizontal or vertical? Well, I've downloaded my images, and here they are in my originals folder. And if I go to view and I look at extra large icons, for instance, I can see that actually they're getting kind of squished. Actually, that's the horizontal, and that's the vertical. That's not right. It's not really. Let's do the large icons. That looks a little bit more like it, but it is kind of squishing the proportions. All right, so what? I could just open them up in a viewer, and it would show me that the baseball one is definitely a horizontal, and the gymnastics one is definitely a vertical. And remember, vertical is like when you hold the camera that way, and it stands up and down like a normal portrait shape piece of paper. And then the horizontal one is when it goes that way, and so on. Like turning the camera the other way, or a landscape size shape thing. All right, so I'm going to go back to my viewing details of those. So those are our two images. I suggest in the instructions that you are going to open up first the gymnastics photo. So I could do this by file open on Photoshop. I have Photoshop open, or I could go and just drag and drop the gymnastics image on here. And there it is, okay? For some reason, I'm in my crop area right away, but normally you're probably like that. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to save a full copy of this. So remember, this is vertical. So it's going to be 375 wide. So we're going to set the width to 375. And to do that, we're going to use the save for web method first. So using the save for web method. So what is a save for web method? The idea here is that we've decided that we're not going to crop this image. Okay? We're going to leave this image exactly the proportions that it is right now. So no cropping is necessary. We just want to optimize the image. So when you don't mess with the size of the image or anything else with the image, that's the idea. So if we go to File, sorry, a little interruption there. If we go to File, Export, Save for Web Legacy, right now this is showing us just a tiny corner of this thing. If we wanted to see more of it, we can do Control minus and zoom in, but we don't really have to. I don't know how this setting is going to be for you when you open this up, okay? But we're definitely going to change the setting to JPEG high if it's not there already. And JPEG is correct, and high is correct, and optimized is correct, and the quality numbers, you shouldn't have to change any of those. Once you change to JPEG high, this stuff shall be the same. Unchanged, unchanged, unchanged. But down here, this is the issue, image size. So we said that this is a full, it's going to be 375 wide. And it is correct, we want those locked. So I make this 375. You'll see that the height has become 545. Well, that's not the 500 that I list on your sheet of paper, but that's okay. We don't want to change the proportions here. We're just going to keep the proportions the way they are. One nice thing about Save for Web is it does not impact the original. So when we say save, it's not going to overwrite the original. It's going to do a save as, essentially. We're going to call this one Jim Full. I think I say in the instructions to call it something like that. And it's not going into originals. This is going into full images, full. The full size images, in other words, the larger size images. We could have called it Jim 375. Typically, sometimes we actually name images with their width, the width of the image. And click Save. Nothing has happened to the original, right? And if we went and looked in our folder, we would see that now in the images full, we have an image here. It's 25K when the original, back in our originals folder, was 2,000 something K. So this is our larger size image, and it's already tiny. It's actually not that big, at only 375 pixels wide, but it would be like a medium to medium small, but not small image, medium size image probably. Okay, so again, we're going to make now the smaller size one, and the process is going to be the same. So this file, export, save for web. The reason I like this is it doesn't just resize the image based on proportions, and if you keep this lock, it's going to keep those proportions locked, which we definitely want to do. We don't want to skew the image. What it also does is it removes a lot of colors, which wouldn't be able to be shown on the web anyway. So it further optimizes the image. And remember now, if you look at your numbers, the thumbnail, this tiny one, is going to be 75 pixels. This would be like a tiny photo, like in a gallery, that you click on and go to a bigger photo. 75, and then of course it goes to 109, and we go ahead and say save, but now we're not going to name it full, and it's not going to be in full. We're going to name it thumb, and I'm going to put it in the thumb. So we're keeping the large ones separate from the other ones. And again, this is to add a little bit of an organizational task for you. And that's all that we had to do with that image. That's good, that's done. And we're not going to save the changes because we don't want to change the original. In fact, in general, that's a good rule. You don't want to change the original images. So no. Okay, the baseball one, we're going to add a little more complication. So here it is. This baseball image, the idea is that we want to use a cropping method. We've decided that we really do want to shove it into a certain proportions, which are going to be slightly different than the proportions that are here. That we really do want to make it 500 by 375. So we have to crop it to that size. So we're going to click on the cropping tool, and there it is. And then we want to make sure we are at width height resolution, the width height resolution, and then over here in the pixels per inch, right? We're going to put 72. And the width, well, if you remember your numbers, it's going to be 500 by, not inches, and this is where you really got to make sure you change it, px. If you make it 500 inches, there's a huge difference between 500 inches and 500 px pixels. You are going to kill your Photoshop at 500 inches by 375 pixels. So it's showing us in this little crop box, this is what the how much of the photo we would get at those proportions. We could make it even less if we want to by squeezing this in here like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just move the image around underneath it a little bit, so I get this guy in a little bit over here, Gomez. Okay, so you do the crop you want, right? And then you double click on here, and what's happened? I can do Control Plus to make it bigger. We have now already made that photo much smaller. We made it 500 by 375 at 72 pixels per inch. Does it look a little fuzzy on your screen? Yeah, because you're looking at it much larger than it would appear on the website, and that's okay. But now we would do Save for Web. File, Export, Save for Web, which will further compress it to kind of remove some colors and so on. And this time, we shouldn't have to change these numbers at all, because they are the numbers we just gave it. We can just say Save, and we're going to call this one a full. We'll call it B-Ball Full. Okay, all right, and then we will move on to the thumb. And guess what? Now you don't have to go back to crop anymore, because those proportions, the numbers I gave you, that 500, 375, 175, they are the same proportions at different sizes. So we're going to go just to we can just go ahead and go to Image, Export, Save for Web, and this time we're going to change this number, the width to 100, and the height becomes 75 right there. They're locked together. Nothing else here changes. We say Save, and we move it into the thumbs. This is B-Ball Thumb. We click Save, and if we want to look at our folders to confirm that those are the originals, in our root folder, on the full we have 2 images, both quite small, and then in the thumbs we have 2 images, again, even tinier. So those are fully optimized for the web, and this was the root folder that we would then zip and